totally tubular. There are 202 different monsters and tiers of the kingdom. That's 202 more than the number of people who play Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. Today, we will be ranking them and finding which one's the most edible. Here's how it'll work. We'll take each type of monster, analyze them and their meat, and then give them a rating from 1 to 10 based on how edible they are. Then, at the end, we will compare the results and decide which monster is the most edible. Also, we won't be including any enemy variants in this ranking, so we won't be analyzing blue bokoblins and red bokoblins, just bokoblins. Also, I'm not experienced with meat production at all, so I could say some things that are untrue. Now, without further ado, I just want to get this one out of the way because, come on, it's a rock. And unlike a box of crayons, your digestive system isn't capable of digesting rocks. Even attempting to consume one could be extremely harmful or deadly. This leads to the stone talus getting a 0 out of 10 on the edible rating. Next one.
Of course you do! It's like my Uncle Kagi once said.
According to my research, and keep in mind I could be wrong, fat or muscular animals are ideal for meat production. Fat is ideal because it creates a juicy taste, and muscle because they have lots of protein. While these boys may not have a lot of muscle, they definitely have an abundance of sweet, juicy fat. This will create a rich, juicy flavor that will be bound to leave a good taste in your mouth. As a bonus, they are huge, making it so that you got a lot of meat per boss bokoblin. The boss bokoblin gets a 9 out of 10 on the edible rating. It's the same thing as a stone talus. You can't eat wood. 0 out of 10 on the edible rating. The Hinox is like the boss bokoblin, but cranked to 100. These guys are twice as big and fat. This allows for a delicious, juicy taste and lots of meat for each Hinox. They are the pinnacle of Tears of the Kingdom meat. 10 out of 10 on the edible rating.
Nay, we are but men, rock.
A Lionel's real-world equivalent is a horse. Horse meat is high in protein and has lots of iron and vitamin B. Also, Lionels may not be fat, but they sure are muscular. Animals that were muscular before becoming meat are a great source of protein. Unfortunately, muscular meat doesn't taste as good as fat meat, and these guys are buff. This gives the Lionel a 7 out of 10 on the edible rating. Healthy, but not tasty.
Sapow!
These monsters don't have a lot of meat on them. They're essentially an eye on wings, like Zero from Kirby's Dream Land 3. However, they seem pretty similar to bats, so leave that for comparison. Apparently, hanging upside down all day makes bat wings very tasty and tender. Unfortunately, bats, and therefore key size, are not fit for human consumption. The Keese gets a 5 out of 10 on the edible rating. The wings are great, but the eyes not so much. At least you can still use them for homing arrows.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
A Gibdo is essentially all bone. Bones, however, can be eaten if you boil them in water, making a bone broth. However, it doesn't taste that good. The head, though, looks like that of an ant. Ants are eaten in many parts of the globe. I see no reason why a jumbo one shouldn't be eaten as well. The Gibdo gets a 5 out of 10 on the edible scale because most of the body doesn't taste good, and the head is the only thing that's not bone. Plus, ever since Link committed mass genocide on the Gibdos, liberate the Grudo, it would be pretty hard to find one. One might assume that Choo-Choo would be just like eating jelly. However, I, for some reason, feel that this sentient pile of goop is not edible. However, if you cook it, it creates something that's somewhat edible, however little, so it gets a 1 out of 10 on the edible scale. As stated previously, bones can be edible, but are generally not appetizing, so a 4 out of 10 on the edible rating. Moldugas are very fat and big creatures. This means that you'll get a whole lot of flavor and meat from one Molduga. 10 out of 10 on the edible rating. We can see that most of its body is ice. Ice is edible, but not a preferred food of choice by any means. Some of its body, though, such as its spine and the space around the ice, appears to be meat. While it looks tough, you can tenderize it through marination, salting the meat, and other methods. Additionally, the Colgera is very big, meaning that you'll get a lot of meat for the Colgera. Overall, the Colgera gets a 5 out of 10 on the edible rating. Lizalfos are like lizards. Lizards are actually a delicacy in many parts of the world, including the US. Well, taste comes down to personal preference. Sources report that it's not that appetizing. Overall, the Lizalfos gets a 6 out of 10 on the edible rating. The muckrock is a tiny, scrawny little thing. It's also 90% brain. This might make you think that it's not edible, but brains are actually edible and contain omega-3 fatty acids and nutrients. They also have a savory taste with a slight bitter aftertaste, which you may or may not like depending on who you are. Ah, but that's not all. The muckrock also has a giant shark thing with him. Sharks are tasty and nutritious if cooked properly. 8 out of 10 on the edible rating. The marble goma is all rock, except for a few places which are mouse meat. Humans wouldn't be able to eat the rock, but even if we could, we would become drugged by the mouse meat. 0 out of 10 on the edible rating. Moragia is all rock, except for a few places which are once again rock and mouse meat. Just like the marble goma, if you eat it, you will become drugged. 0 out of 10 on the edible rating. Queen Gibdo is like a Gibdo, but bigger and has more meat. We'll just take the Gibdo rating and up it. 6 out of 10 on the edible rating. No rocks! I don't know what's up with Nintendo and all these rock-themed creatures, but they're not edible. 0 out of 10. Fat, big, juicy frog. Need I say more? 9 out of 10. These guys are made of metal. While precious metals can be safely consumed in a certain way, this isn't precious metal. 0 out of 10.
Wishing isn't very scientific, son.
These guys have a medium amount of meat. It's not a lot, but it's not a little. Overall, 6 out of 10 on the edible rating. You can't touch gloom. I doubt consuming it would be any better. 0 out of 10.
Every day I wake up, then I start to break up lonely.
The Aracuda is a giant geese. The wings are really big, which means lots of tenderness. The rest of it can be cooked for some pretty decent meat. Nothing special, really. 7 out of 10.
I don't wanna be free. Leave me alone.
Octrox are squids. Squid meat is cheap, versatile, and tasty. 8 out of 10 on the edible rating. Bokoblins are not too fat or muscular. They do, however, have some meat on them. 5 out of 10 on the edible rating. While we don't see much of the Wizardrobe's body, we can assume based on their legs and eerie face that they don't have much meat on them. However, it doesn't seem inedible. 6 out of 10 on the edible rating. Beneath that hard, scaly exterior, there's probably juicy, tender meat. 9 out of 10 on the edible rating. The like is like a leech. See what I did there? Miraculously, you can actually eat a leech. Unfortunately, there's a chance you can catch this from eating a leech, which is quite dangerous. 2 out of 10 on the edible rating. Last but not least, we have the Moblin. Much like the Zolfo, Moblins don't have much meat. They are, however, somewhat muscular, making them a good source of protein. 6 out of 10 on the edible rating. Now that we've analyzed every monster in Tears of the Kingdom, it's time to determine which one's the most edible. By looking at the stats, the Hinox and Molduga are tied at 10 out of 10 on the edible rating. However, because it's bigger and fatter, meaning you'll get more juice and meat per kill, the Molduga takes the crown for the most edible monster in Tears of the Kingdom. Congratulations, Molduga! You'll be hunted to near extinction. With that said, I will see you all next time.